getting my quarter panel section ready to cut out, but if you look close, we went ahead and finished welding our patch panel in. Now that is welded up real good. I just didn't grind it down and all that. I used special rust prevention paint, okay? And if you notice, it looks pretty much basically exactly like the other piece. I test fit our quarter panel up here, quarter panel section up here, and it fits real tight on our lips. So, what we did, just an overview look, we took our old rotted out piece, cut it out, okay, that's where it was. Alright, we cut it out. If you notice, there's the section that was missing. Alright, I went ahead and molded the piece by hand that I needed to fit in there. I welded it on there. I went ahead and cut me a makeshift drain hole, just like this one, basically like that one, not exactly. Okay, and that's basically how you do patch repair rust. Now, if you want to, you know, if that was going to show, you can actually come back and grind that nice and clean, and that's what we're going to show you here when we replace our rear quarter panel section. Now, if you look up here, this piece here, I told you the owner, I explained to you that the owner bought his own sheet metal. So I cut this lower section off. I knew I wasn't going to go up that high, so I just cut it off. I fit it up on here. I found me a line, and I'm going to cut that line right here above this. And I'm going to cut that very precise with my air saw and my cutting wheel. It's very important that this line is very straight. And let me get that cut out, and I'm going to show you why it has to be straight, nice and even. And we'll go. Okay, I went ahead and cut the excess, just like I said, on the top of the tape line. And now what I did is I clamped it back on here. I made sure it was nice and tight and secure. I felt the bottom of it, made sure that all the lips were touching. I took a magic marker, and I went ahead and marked that where the panel was. So I'm going to take my scribe tool. I'm going to get right up next to that line without pushing in on this panel here, and I'm scratching a line in the middle. Now, this is where your magic marker comes in. This is where your magic marker comes in. When I take this panel off, it's going to show me a nice precise line on top of the black. If you notice, like I was telling you about aftermarket parts, it doesn't fit exactly perfect. Okay, if you notice, it's hanging off here, but it's nice and tight up there. So, what I'm going to have to do is I'll have to cut this seam. I'll have to make a cut right here. I'll have to take some out, push this panel back up to it, and then seam weld it. If you come around here on this side, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I had to do over here. That's why this has all been feathered out. If you look right here, I cut it down in this area here and cut this section out to move this piece back, because I replaced it right in this area here. So I cut it out right here, moved it back, found my mark, scribed it, cut it off, and then butt welded it back together. And when all that's done, you'll never even know it was replaced. So let me go ahead and cut I scribed my line on the panel. So to make that test panel fit the way that I'm going to, I have to come down past the line I scribed 5/8 of an inch. So I find me a nice square line there. I come down to the 5/8 mark, and I draw me a line. Now, you're probably wondering, why is he going down that far? That doesn't make sense. Or you're probably thinking, he's going to overlap that and weld that on there, and it's going to look like crap. No, it's not. The reason that I'm coming way down here, let me get my tape. I'm going to go ahead and tape that to show you what it's going to look like. Now, mind you, we'll be cutting off the top of this tape line here. So I run that tape all the way down and all the way across. And in a sense, yes, we are going to overlap it. But what the deal is, okay, is the special tool I use. Now, this is called punch slash flanging tool. Now what it does is it makes a flange on the edge of your steel. And if you look real close, I've already done a little bit here. What you do is you push that, pull that trigger, and it makes a nice flange where that panel will sit right in there and it'll be flush mounted. So when I weld that up, we got support underneath our weld, we got support on top of our weld, and it's also flush where we don't have to do a lot of welding. That's going to make our panel nice and flush. We won't get no warpage out of it. It'll be minor body work, and it'll come out real clean. So let me go ahead and cut this line off. On the end here, my flange tool, it won't fit up in here. Okay, it'll fit almost, but we don't want to ruin this body line, so we're going to end our flange right here. So on the end here, on this end, I'm going to go ahead and cut it where it fits in perfect up here at this line. And we're going to butt weld that in, because we want that to be nice and clean. And it's going to be the same back here. So the only place we're going to use our flange tool is in this area right here. So okay, now I cut it all out just like I wanted it to fit, and it's going to look like a jigsaw puzzle here. What I did is I cut exactly on the line I scribed until I got to here. Then I came down approximately 3/8 to 1/2 of an inch. If you look real close, you can see the line where it used to be, where the scribed line is. This made a stair-step effect in it, which is a flange. Okay, all the way across here. Then I came back over here, I notched it back up, I went across it here, and this is where our panel will be butt welded. We don't want to cut it off. I went this far back because we don't want to weld in this valley right here. Okay, that's a hard place to do body work. We don't want to do it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my panel, and if you watch very closely, I'm going to slide it up on here. One more thing I'd like to show you. I went ahead and used the punch side of my flange tool, and I already cut out for the spot welds, which will be, he's going to put his hand and use it as a vice grip right here where my hand is. And he's going to pinch those two pieces together. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple spot welds on it. To spot weld it on. Now, you want the heat of your welder to be very, very low, the lowest heat possible. So we're going to go ahead and get a couple spot welds right here. I'm going to put one in the middle. I'm going to put one over here where Jeff's at. Watch your eyes, Jeff.
They're closed.
I'm going to put one over here where Jeff's at. Okay, if you can let go of that. Now, that's where we want our panel to be. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my screw gun. Actually, it's a drill with a screw bit on it. And I'm going to put some self-tapping screws across here to hold that in. I'm going to clamp that down so it's nice and tight. And I'm going to put a couple screws to hold that in, or I'll just leave the clamps on it and spot weld it as I go. Once I do that, I'm going to come back and go back and forth with spot welds until I get to the middle. And then when I have a bunch of little spot welds, I'm going to come back and fill a little spot in. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to fill this spot in. And I'm going to go back and forth till I get to the middle. What that's going to do, it's going to keep it from warping this panel.